Our continent is making progress to be a key player in the different stages of the global value chain. Our role as raw material supplier only will come to an end soon. Therefore, we are calling for a more balanced trade partnerships. I'm pleading for European investments in the transformation process of our minerals on the continent. I'm calling for the lifting of any tariff or non-tariff barrier hampering the access of African products to the European market. I'm finally calling for a stronger and more viable multilateralism based on equality, respect for all nations, and advancing the common vital global interest. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may this Luanda summit enables us to achieve our shared vision for peace, progress, and prosperity for our peoples across the two continents. We can make this journey together for the sake of uplifting our shared humanity over selfishness and narrow-minded protectionism. I thank you.
And to today's co-chairs, I say os meus sinceros agradecimentos a ambos. Right now, the world is changing at a radical rate. Technology barrels ahead, climate chaos reigns, and inequalities deepen. We are moving towards a multipolar world with global power in flux. Against the risks of division of the world into two blocks, led by two big powers, we need an interconnected multipolarity with an inclusive network of intense relations on trade, development, financial institutions, and with increasing political coordination. But multipolarity in itself is not a guarantee of peace and prosperity. Europe was multipolar in 1914, but in the absence of strong multilateral governance, the result was war. Today's multipolarity, to be successful, also needs strong multilateral institutions and dynamics as a condition for stability and equilibrium. The partnership between the AU and the EU, two multilateral organizations, and more broadly, the partnership between Europe and Africa, are well placed to be a central axis of a new multipolar world. The emerging reality offers an opportunity to ratify historic injustices and usher in a fairer, more equal system for countries long excluded from global decision-making. I wish to address three areas where cooperation between your two continents can play a decisive role in guiding this new reality. First, sustainable development. Today's global financial architecture is both unfair and ineffective. It favors already wealthy nations. We must reform it for everyone's benefit. And this means ending the crashing debt cycle, tripling the lending capacity of multilateral development banks, and giving developing countries, many of them in Africa, greater participation and influence in the global financial institutions as part of the reform of the international financial architecture to adapt it to today's world. In Seville this year, the international community agreed on comprehensive steps to advance these goals. The African Union's Agenda 2063 and the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development also point that way. Together, you can end the injustices of poverty, address the root causes of migration and displacement, and unleash the unmatched economic potential of this continent. Second, climate action. Africa is rich in sun, wind, and critical minerals, and demand to those critical minerals is set to triple by 2030, driven by the shift towards clean energy. That must be an opportunity to resurrect the old models of resource exploitation and replace them with high value-added processing and production in the countries of origin. With the right training and financing, the renewables revolution can empower all of Africa. but only if international cooperation enables a just transition away from fossil fuels, including the electrification of the continent. To allow for a just transition, we need developed countries to keep their promises and engage all their partners, to double adaptation finance this year, and to pursue all efforts to triple it by 2035, and to make the Baku COP decisions a reality. Africa has the resources and a dynamic young workforce. Europe has the capital and the technological know-how. Climate action is a duty, but between you both, it is an opportunity. Third, we come to peace. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, Europe's worst conflict in a generation, unleashed terrible suffering for civilians and deep disruptions in the global economy. The deaths and destruction in Gaza will be remembered as our bigger failure of humanity. And in Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Mali, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, countless others endure bloodshed and pain. But there is a way forward. The Pact for the Future, adopted last year, calls for permanent seats for Africa on the United Nations Security Council to ratify a deep historic injustice and strengthen the Council's ability to deliver peace across the globe. I repeat my call for sustainable, flexible, and predictable funding for African Union-led peace operations as endorsed by Security Council Resolution 2719. And I commend the European Union for their direct engagement and for advocating this over the past decade. Excellencies, the solutions to these challenges lie in multilateralism, including strong regional and global institutions. Together, as it was mentioned, the EU and the EU make up 40% of UN member states. You have the power to uphold the Charter, broker agreements, and steer the world towards a more stable, more inclusive reality where international law prevails and injustices and inequalities are progressively eliminated. Out of the turbulence of today, you can craft a new era of hope for unity, for equality, and for peace. I thank you. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada, Excelência.